Morning, people. Finished a book a couple days ago. I finished this. The Children's Blizzard. Uh, we got this book at Books A Million down here in Florida. It wasn't a terrible book. I read this really fast, like 4 days. I read this thing. There's not a whole lot of notes. The Children's Blizzard takes place in 1888, January 13th. And basically, this blizzard and an extreme cold front, today we would call it the polar vortex, hits the Great Plains. And in 1888, really the Great Plains are still just opening up for settlers, and some of these people had only been there a couple of years. A lot of them didn't speak any English. They're Germans and Ukrainians and mostly Germans. Some oddball Germans that actually lived in the Ukraine, and then they left there and came here. I guess the mistake that they made was it had been a very mild day. The morning started out very mild, and they sent their kids to school without the type of clothing that you might normally wear in the wintertime. Some of the kids got lucky; they didn't go to school. And what kind of decisions these people made after the blizzard hit, that was the big deal. I mean, once you decided to leave the school or go outside, period, you were kind of fucked. I've been in some blizzards. I've drove through some blizzards. I've walked around in some blizzards, but I've never been in a blizzard where you couldn't see. So these people were leaving, these kids, and to a lesser extent, the parents also, were leaving the safety of a building, and they couldn't fucking see. They couldn't make it back to where they had just come from, let alone to their destination, to where they were going to. And it got so cold, and they weren't dressed properly, that if they were out there for any amount of time, for hours, for 6 hours, they froze to death. Some of them actually made it through the night. They hid they would stumble onto a haystack and get inside the haystack, and they would live, but they would lose their feet or lose their fingers and for frostbite. So I don't have a lot of notes. This could be a little shorter video. This book was published in 2004. It's 271 pages. The third paragraph, page 56. General Adolphus W. Greely, who was head of the nation's weather forecasting service from 1887 to 1891, wrote in his 1888 book, American Weather, that shortly after this storm, the use of the word blizzard became tolerably frequent in the northwestern parts of the United States to indicate such cold anti-cyclone storms as are attended by drifting snow. The book's got a lot of information on the Weather Service at that time. And if you're interested in that, then that's great. I wasn't very interested in it, and it seemed like no matter what they did, they kind of put the blame on this one guy. I can't recall his name right now, but these fuck people, it's not like they had radios or anything. A lot of these people were living in sod houses. There was really not any way to warn them efficiently. But really, I marked that because Greely is an old buddy of mine from his Arctic expedition, and he led a disastrous Arctic expedition where most of his men died. Uh, Died of scurvy or starvation or getting caught out. You know, some of them fell through the ice and drowned. One was actually shot for repeatedly stealing food. It was the Cape Sabine disaster. Some of them lived. Greeley was one of them that made it through. Uh, this book is written in a style where they take several people, families, and follow them all the way from their original home, you know, in Germany or the Ukraine, and follow them up until after the blizzard. And what the author does is they'll follow them for a little while, they'll get to an exciting moment, and then they'll stop and they'll jump to somebody else. It's a literary device that I don't really care for. It's there to keep you reading. And you know, this is not the only author that uses that. Much interesting info on 1880 weather forecasting. And really here, I'm at the end of my notes, the third paragraph, page 243. And this just, it kind of reminded me of the movie Jaws. And you'll see why after I eventually find that page. They bicker over the death toll. It wasn't really, in my estimate, it wasn't high. It was like 250. Some people sensationalized it, and you know, like newspapers and shit would say it was 1,000. What was at issue here was not just the accuracy of the death toll figures, but the truth about the climate of the prairie. A region that could slay 1,000 innocent American citizens in the course of an afternoon did not look like a fit place for human habitation. Quite the contrary. Whereas if the figure stood at a mere couple hundred, that could be written off as an unfortunate sacrifice on the path to progress. In essence, it was an argument over image and reputation. Prairie public relations. So, the newspapers from the larger cities out there wanted to minimize the death toll because they still wanted people to move out there. Whether they moved to the prairie or whether they moved to the city, they still wanted people to move out there. And, you know, like the movie Jaws, where they try to downplay the shark attacks because their tourism, this place, they wanted people to move there. And he goes on to say towards the end that really it's not that populated now. And there were several blizzards before this. Teddy Roosevelt had a farm out there where he tried to run cattle, and a blizzard just ruined him. You know, it killed thousands of head of cattle. There was some extreme weather there. That's the way it went. So, it was an okay book. I'm reading another one right now that promises to be very good. I'm only on like page 50 and I got a ton of notes already. So, thanks for watching.